So we're going to put a ceiling in on our first floor. And as you can see, I have no ceiling attached to the bottom of this truss. So we're going to attach a ceiling to that. And because this is an apartment building, we need a sound control ceiling, which means we're going to put some resilient sound channel on the ceiling first at 24 inches on center. And then we're going to attach the sheetrock ceiling to that sound channel. So we probably have to create that ceiling type as well. So I'm going to go to my first floor plan. And I'm going to zoom in to where my section is here, just so that we'll put the ceiling. In the demonstration, I'm just going to put it in where the section is cut so that it'll go faster for us. Okay, so I'm going to go up to ceiling. Click on ceiling. It's going to default to something. It probably defaults to the last one you may have created, which might be that one, which we put on the upper floor. But let's create one for the first floor. And the first floor ceiling is basically going to be just the sound channel and the gypsum board, because we're attaching it to the bottom of the floor truss. Okay, so I'm going to go down, and I'm going to use this one that is gypsum on furring. That's one of the options you should have, gypsum on furring. Click on that one. Go to edit the type. We can leave it at gypsum on furring because that's actually what it is, right? The sound channel is furring, so we'll leave it at that title. We will check the structure of it, and the structure is metal stud layer, and it's 3/4 inch. Let's click the materials of that, and let's see if they have a metal furring. They do. So let's change it to metal furring. Let's go to OK. And the sound channel that we're going to put on the ceiling is 1/2 inch instead of 3/4, so we'll change that to 1/2 inch. And we'll say OK. We'll apply that, say OK. And now, when we did the ceiling on the upper floor, we kind of traced the outline of the building because we put the ceiling on the whole top floor, right? I'm going to do it a little different here, because just to show you that it can be done different. We could do it that exact same way. But in this case, if you go to automatic and you hover over like this living room, dining room, kitchen space, you'll see a red line appear. So we're actually putting a ceiling in that space. If I go to automatic and I click this space, it'll put a ceiling in there. And if I want one in that closet, I'll have to put one there as well. And then let's go look at my section. Okay, so I put this ceiling in, and it dropped in there, but in my case it dropped it in at 7 foot 0 1/8, which isn't the right height, right? So a couple options. I could click on that ceiling and just move it. Take it from here up to here, and now it's in the right spot. I actually had put 2 in there by mistake. Okay, so now I have a ceiling there, and we want this ceiling to connect over here. So if I want to join that to the wall, if I click on that ceiling and go to Join Geometry, I can click the ceiling and the wall, and it didn't join it quite right, huh? It had the sheetrock go up the wall and the channel not connect to the stud, and that's not what I want. So I'm going to make an adjustment here. I'm going to click on that ceiling. I'm going to edit the boundary of that ceiling. It's going to ask me what level do I want to edit it on. I'll click the first floor plan. And we've seen this before, like when we put floors in, right? You go back and you see a magenta line around it. And if I zoom in here, you'll see that the outline is up against the gypsum board. And actually I have an underlay of my roof on. I shouldn't have that on. That's why that's showing up. Well, I'll fix that later. I'm going to take this line and I'm just going to move it to the stud. And I'll finish that. So in order for the ceiling to join correctly to the wall, it has to, the boundary line of it has to be at the stud, not at the face of the sheetrock. In this case, the upper two lines here represent the channel, right? And the channel goes all the way to the stud, but the sheetrock connects to the sheetrock. Okay? So that's one way of doing it. And it's true, we could do it the other way. I'll just undo this. Delete my ceiling. Go back to my first floor plan. And we could put the ceiling on as a sketch. I could go to ceiling. It defaults back to the one I wanted. I could do it by sketch, in which case I could do the whole building. I could start out here. And in this case, you'll see I am connecting onto the stud line. I'll just do this unit. Again, when I put that ceiling in, I put it in at the wrong level. Last time I just moved it up. This time I'll just go over here and I'll change it to 8 foot 1 1/8. That's a little too high. Should have been 8 foot 0 1/8. Okay, then I can join it to the wall, and it does it right again. Okay, I'm going to undo that last join. Okay, so if you're messing around with it and you're having trouble getting it to join, is there a way that we can make that look right? If you ran into a situation where it wouldn't actually join the way you want it to, you could always go and do a masking region, which is something that's going to hide some lines. In this case, I'd go create I'd use invisible lines over here under line style. I'd probably use a rectangle in this case. Or actually, I'll just use lines, and I'll go here. So I'm creating a shape that's going to hide something below it, and I'll finish that. And now it's hidden some of those lines. Once it's hidden, then you can go and grab these grips and be careful not to go over top of another line, because you would actually, if I went over the top of this line up here, I would actually hide it as well. If you snap to it, it may not look like it's hidden, but it may not print. See? So at that scale, it's not there. At that scale, it is there. You know, so you got to be careful with. I would never put it right on top of it. Okay. And it also depends on whether you have thick lines or thin lines on. Oops, what was that? There we go. Yeah, see? Under thick lines. Okay, so that's just another way of hiding some lines that aren't coming out exactly the way you want them to.
Where would you stop?
Okay, now we get to the stairwell. And in this case, obviously when you're going up the stairway, there is no ceiling at the main level. There's only a ceiling at the top level then, right? As you walk into the stairwell, you see all the way to the top level. So in this case, we do have, it all depends on where the landing is upstairs and so forth. So we should probably look at the section of our stairway first. Okay, so we do have a ceiling under here, but we don't have a ceiling up in here, right? That one's up there. So we would have to have a ceiling that came over to this point right here. So if I go back to my first floor plan, and if I were to put a ceiling in this stairwell, and if I go automatic, it looks like it wants to put it in the entire area. So in this case, I'd want to go by sketch. And I'd want to go from I'll just do this landing area and I'll finish that. I'll go back to my section through my stairwell. Okay, again I put it at the wrong level. Should have been at 8 foot 0 1/8. And there it is. Okay.